I'm not quite sure how that happened so quickly, mainly because it took us 12 hours to recover from the opening 5 hours of mayhem, but we have 3 hours of the race remaining. The door is open, so he'll have to pit again because it didn't latch properly unless he can somehow.
He's got his hand on it to hold it. He's put his hand out. Look, there's his hand.
He's trying to slam it down. Now, normally there's like a pull strap. I wonder if he's actually pulled the strap off. Because
let's have a look here. The door opens at speed. There's a pressure inside. Air coming into the cockpit creates this pressure. It's got to be released out. Usually there's little ducts to do that. If not, then the pressure would ensure that. This looks like there's a latch issue with the door, so I suspect that this car is going to be coming back into the pits.
He will be coming back in, and that will swap the places yet again between 3 and 1.
324 kilometers an hour, whatever, and he's got his hand just holding it down.
Well, my history of trying to close the door with my hand around the door, trying to pull it into the frame, has never been a very pleasant one. And actually, at speed, the door might bounce, but it's not going to pull off.
It looks like he's got it sorted out, though.
I wonder.
Okay, Neil, at slow speed, try to close it. We don't manage to do it. At slow speed, try to close it.
At slow speed, close it, because that means it doesn't have the same air pressure build-up inside the cockpit, so it's a little bit easier to do it.
And also, the air flowing from the windscreen around creates a low-pressure zone around the door, which is what helps you to extract the air behind the edge of the door, and that's actually going to suck the door open.
Yeah, 2 hands on the wheel.
The thing is, the slowest point slowest point of the circuit, though, is when you're meant to be turning the steering wheel to go around a corner of some sort.
Yeah, but if you come out of Mulsanne corner or Arnage, it's a straight. So there's Neil Jarni. He's trying to find the handle. He can't see it. He can't turn his head to look. Even if he could, he couldn't see out of the helmet. Now he's reaching around for the flappy strap and slams the door, and it doesn't catch that time, but it did eventually. So obviating the need for an unnecessary pit stop. Well done. In fact, that wasn't Neil Jarni, was it? I made the helmet mistake again. That was Gustavo Menezes.
No, that's Yanni.
I know it is Neil Jarni, you're right, sorry. Yes, I was wrong in my wrongness. Right first time. So both of the Red Bull helmeted Rebellion drivers are in, one with the glittery bits and one without. And they remain in a podium position. Gustavo Menezes ahead of Neil Jarni, Vitaly Petrov 5th in LMP1, but not overall. In fact, overall, Vitaly Petrov is 54th or something last time we looked. Let's have a look where the number 11 is not 47th overall. Yeah, he's in 5th in LMP1, 44th overall, Vitaly Petrov. Just about to pass Johnny Adams at Aston Martin. So that car that was last and 19 laps, I think, behind anything else, they've just bludgeoned their way through with admirable pace, considering how despondent they were, how early in the race. Number 23, Ewan O'Leary tells us, had clutch issues from a podium spot in LMP2, and that's a Ligier. The chassis is not the problem. That sounds like a valid point. 749.43
kilometers behind the leader.
Ah, right.
Kilometers behind the leader.
I was thinking calories that we need to take on before lunch.
No, and here is Lopez in the pits in the 7.
700 kilometers. He will still be classified as a finisher, however, if he continues to lose as little ground to the leader as he is doing now.
Yes, the percentage rule.
At half distance, he was just a fraction over, 75% behind. But that's because he'd lost a lot in the early part of the race. If he loses not much more, then that gap will be halved. Or quartered or eighth or doubled or something. But better mathematicians than I am worked out that he should be good.
So one battle that's kind of dropped away a little bit, unfortunately, is a battle between the Ford and the Porsche. The 91 Porsche, Machiavecchi stayed in, we saw them wheel to wheel and pushing and shoving with Sebastian Bourdais. But now Joey Hand is 18 seconds behind. He came out the pits 5 seconds behind, but since that pit stop and lap 290, so 9 laps ago, has lost all of that 13 seconds.
And also Priaulx, he was pushing and pushing and pushing, and he seems to have dropped off. I don't know what
Priaulx was quicker actually than Joey Hand.
Yeah.
He was about half a second quicker on most laps.
I know he's probably done a pit stop.
He's done a pit stop now. Yep.
Yeah, so he'll probably go back ahead. But Joey Hand must be due a pit stop soon, isn't it? So every 10 laps they're in or something, so he should be due another one. But at the same time, so will the 91 Porsche.
Yes, they'll be. They're on 14 laps per stint, and they pitted on lap 290. They're on 299, so we've got another 5 laps to go.
Just looking at the Rebellion battle for the final. Oh, that's SMP car, isn't it? Yeah.
Going slow. That's into the second chicane. So they've came out of the first chicane down to second chicane.
This is 2 Ferraris battling there. It was up on the screen. Battle for 7th and 8th. Just over half a second between these two.
Yeah. Pierre Guidi in the car that's 7th, and in 8th position it's Pipo Derani.
That was SMP
35. It was Norman Nato in that car. That's the car that he shares with Harrison Newey.
It's had a bit of a tough weekend, hasn't it, as well?
Yeah, they've not had the best of weekends. I haven't really seen too much of NATO's times, but I was watching Newey's times, and considering the car balance and everything else, which didn't look exceptionally good, then he was hustling it long.
Montoya sitting in 4th in LMP2 and 16 seconds away from 3rd. IDEC car dropping down and down and down with that problem in the pits. Clutch problems, isn't it? So they dropping them way down.
Certainly gearbox X-Track were in there and they were discussing that. What it was within that system, we don't know.
I'm trying to work out what that Ford is in front of these 2 Ferraris, because there isn't a Ford in a battle with these Ferraris.
67 car, it's Andy Priaulx.
Okay.
It's Andy Priaulx that's running through. And Priaulx sitting there in 4th position, 1 minute behind Joey Hand on the road. But they're on slightly different pit stop strategies. Behind Priaulx, you've got Magnussen in 5th place. But this is the battle, as we said, for 7th and 8th, 2 AF Corsa cars, kind of sister cars.
The gap, I can't remember what I said about 5 minutes ago, but the gap now between the 2 Rebellions, it's the 3 Rebellionists ahead of the 1 Rebellion. It's 7.8 seconds between those 2.
Gustavo Menezes, who's in the number 3 car, he's just done the car's fastest lap of the race, a 3-minute 20.367. That relates to Toyota's fastest lap, which was very early in the race. Sebastian Buemi in a 3:17.658. And that was on lap 5 of the race. So, what, 20 hours and 50 minutes ago?
A fair time ago anyway, wasn't it? This is our leader in GTE Pro, and it was some ding-dong battle for the first hour between the 2 teammates, the 91, the 92 car, and then a couple of safety cars worked to their favour and their advantage, and they've now made out to manage a gap of 2 minutes 21 seconds that they're out front. And the Porsches last year, they struggled a little bit, but this year they are going really, really well. A year's kind of like work and evolution and experience with this car making huge dividends. Just look at the state of the front end of it. It is amazing. The famous colours from the 70s, and as Martin was saying a little while ago, they were taken into a room and they were basically asked to choose with the two sets of drivers of what they wanted. And unfortunately, there was no arguing from what we can gather. They all decided on different liveries without even wanting the same one. So that's quite handy for them. So that's our classification. Toyota number 8 out front. 339 laps it's done. The 7 Toyota, 1 minute and 46 behind it. As we said, those Rebellions, they're 9.1 seconds away from each other, 3rd and 4th. It's the 26G drive car that is out front at the minute in LMP2. And they've got a lead of 2 laps over the Signatec Alpine. That's a good run for them. Then you can see the 92 Porsche, just been talking about it. 19th overall, our leader in GTE Pro. And it's the battle, well, it was the battle really for 2nd, 3rd and 4th. It was amazing for about an hour or so ago now. And it was a big fight between a Ford and 2 Porsches. And then it's a Porsche in 31st place overall, the 77 Dempsey Proton Racing. That is our leader in the GTE AM category. We just run through down there the leaderboard as they're going through Corvette Racing. That's a retired car. United Autosports, that's a retired car. 48 cars at the minute running and classified out of the 60 that started the race 21 hours, 11 minutes ago. Oh, the pink pig. Okay, Louise is down in the pit lane.
You'd have to just give me a second because Bruno's just talking to the team.
Oh, set us up and let us down,
Bruno,
Louise, back here.
It's a good bit of entertainment between the 2 Rebellions.
It's always a fight here in Le Mans. We're trying to bring both cars home. That's the most important thing, and we're in a good position now to finish 3rd and 4th. So I think it's just a question of trying to make sure that we don't make any mistakes, and whoever finishes in 3rd place will be happy.
Do you think a fight between you or battle?
Not directly. We'll be trying our best to finish where we are, and hopefully, if everything goes right, we finish 3rd. But if the other car finishes 3rd, happy days.
Neil was pretty cool with that door incident.
Yeah, it happened to me as well. So I guess the latch is not so fresh anymore after many changes. But not a big deal. Everything is working fine. So we just make sure that it doesn't happen again.
Thanks, Bruno.
Diplomatic there, as in, can you fight for this? It's, yeah.
Yeah, but then he said, we hope we finish 3rd. Yeah, he's 8 seconds behind, you know, and the only thing is it's ebbing and flowing. I'll tell you, Gustavo Menezes doesn't want to give up that 3rd position. He's got a bit of a grasp on it, and I think he fancies spraying some champagne today.
Yeah, no question. And the lead between those 2 cars, 3rd place basically, has flip-flopped. As one's had a problem, the other one's had a problem, one's had a problem, the other one's had a problem. They haven't had, we've caught them, we've passed them, we've gone ahead on track since all the confusion in the early hours. It has been little incident, little drama, little problem that has sort of swapped one in front of the other. And, you know, with just under 3 hours to go, there's absolutely no guarantee that that might not occur again. You know, there's debris on the circuit, drivers are getting tired, more cars are likely to go off. What's the Toyota engineer doing there? He's looking at the sky. He's wondering about what's the weather going on.
No, 2 o'clock, there was a report of some small showers of rain coming.
You know, 2 hours 45, that was an American Le Mans Series race. An awful lot happened in those races, Al. It wasn't just a cruise to the flag, no matter what you're in, right?
Oh, they were a lot of fun, though.
They were a lot of fun. But, I mean, that's my point, you know. 2 hours 45, that's an endurance race. That's the 2nd longest British GT race of the season. It's a 3-hour race.
Oh, there's Norman
race.
Nato's LMP2 there. That's been going slow since coming out of the first chicane.
Yeah.
Pascal Vassal on the right-hand side there. Kamui Kobayashi on the left. Talking about photo finish there, dropping back. So I think the chances are that when Kamui Kobayashi will be getting in the car next, and then they'll drop to do a photo finish. So the 2 cars will cross the line. Nice big picture for the Monday morning papers, but most importantly, nice big picture to send to TMC, Toyota Motor Corporation, in Japan.
But you know what, after 20 attempts where they've come up short, and some, and you know, you think about the most ultimately heartbreaking finish Le Mans probably I've ever seen, then yeah, if they can win it on their 21st time, then they really will have come of age here at Le Mans. And who knows, you know, it's that old thing, you get the monkey off your back and you get that first win. To say not many times, there's 21 attempts to do it, but if they can, and if they end up 1-2, it'll be good news for Alan McNish and his Toyota shares, which will have gone up, which will be going up nicely. So
there we see the G-Drive car that's leading LMP2. Pizzatola still at the wheel of that car. He's got a 2-lap lead though over second place, which is the Signatec Alpine with Nagarau at the wheel. But the rebellion battle is the one. 12 seconds now between Gustavo Menezes and Neil Yanni. Menezes seemingly getting through the traffic a little bit better at this moment in time.
Yeah. And sometimes that's just the way it breaks, isn't it? Sometimes there's a little bit of driver confidence involved, but as often as not, it's just the way the traffic falls for you. Let's listen.
Okay, Neil, I suspect slow puncture on left rear tire, slow puncture on left rear tire. Pressure is okay at the moment.
Neil Yanni, slow puncture left rear tire. Tire pressure's okay at the moment, which means going down. So it is dropping, but it's dropping at a very slow rate. So Neil Yanni came in on lap 3:24. They're on 3:29, so he's done 5 laps. He's got another 5 to go before the pit stop, or 4.5, because he's halfway around the lap now. So there is a minimum pressure that you sort of know when it gets critical, and that's something that is the construction of the tyre that would then start to create a drama.
Now, was the message to him, don't worry, you'll get back to the pits okay, or don't worry, you can end the stint okay?
It was, look, just be careful of it.
Yeah.
You know, they've got tyre pressure monitoring system. They do have on the steering wheel the information about the tyre pressures and tyre pressure alarm, but it's just alerting him to the possibility of a issue.
Issue?
Well, a potential puncture.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
now we've got the pit stop, just for information, of car number 29, which is the Racing Team Netherlands. Guido van de Garde at the wheel of that car. It's currently 8th in category, 12th overall. Pit stop is under investigation.
You know, that car almost in a podium position when Guido had a massive run through the gravel trap up at Dunlop Curve just in the early evening yesterday, and unfortunately, you know, we talked about how tight the GTE battle is, and we've talked in the last few years about how tight LMP2 is. The G-Drive car got a safety car break and got away, but behind them there has been so much fast, furious racing action between the LMP2 cars. They're now so quick, so reliable, that any little moment that you have is liable to cost you several positions, and it then means it's like giving Usain Bolt a head start. Like, try catching that back up, even if you're as quick as he is. You know, he can give you a head start, but he's a hybrid and the rest of us aren't, I suppose. So that little error, any little niggly problem, you know, modern cars are so reliable and so bulletproof compared to how they were when I first started coming here 35 years ago, where you had to nurse them through all the way through the race. In comes the #1 Rebellion, and Neil Jani is in the pit lane, and I suspect this might be one of the Justin tyres, Alan, which is the spare pair of tyres that they have that aren't a regular set, but they're just in case you get a puncture, just in case you have a valve go, just in case, you know, they're the Joker tyres. I think this might be a single tyre only change, and that looks like what they're ready for.
Yeah, they did a new tyre when they did a driver change in Neil Yanni, so it was a new tyre, so yes, may only be a single one.
So it's the Justin. Oh no. Are they going to go for 2? Do they have a warning on 2 tyres, or is it all full?
Set.
It's a full set. Okay, so they've got a set ready to go. Now that looked like a scrub set, actually. It didn't have that silver release agent sheen. No, it hasn't. They are a scrub set of tyres, so they've been previously used, which means they've gone through a heat cycle. He won't have that brand new tyre edge for the first couple of laps. They're just doing a little bit of housekeeping as well, latching the bonnet back down.
Remember, this had a bonnet issue right at the beginning of the race, literally on the first lap.
Yeah, absolutely. So number 1 car goes back out. And again, you know, that was another one of those issues that flip-flopped the 2 cars together. You know, when that incident happened with the lead Toyota, you thought, ooh, that might be Toyota's bad luck, not waiting for the last lap, but striking on the first. And you also thought, okay, well, that might not be too good for the number 1 car, but it's back in podium contention. Here's our lead car in LMP2, 5th position now. We had LMP2 cars on the overall podium last year. Unfortunately, the Rebellion cars look to be as reliable as the G-Drive Orica chassis. Talking about Orica chassis, listed how many of them there were in the LMP2 field. Orica chassis now 1, 2, 3, with United Autosports that lead Ligier in 4th place, ahead of 3 further Orica chassis. But Hugues de Schonach's Orica crew also having a fair part in the development of the current Toyota as well in LMP1 hybrid. Of course, he was with the team, basically helping to mastermind operations 2 years ago, when they came 1 lap shy of what would have been quite a remarkable anniversary victory, because it would have been 25 years after the other Japanese win at Le Mans, which was also engineered by Hugues de Schonach, because Orica ran the Mazda speed cars for many years at Le Mans, and it was with Hugues de Schonach's Orica team that Mazda have become so far the only Japanese manufacturer to win the 24 Hours of Le Mans. And 27 years later now, it looks as though a second manufacturer from Japan may well be on the way to do it. But again, as the last 2 years have taught us, we wait until after the checkered flag to second guess the finish of this race. Great view on board in the Senior Tech car with Brazil's Andre Negrão. Blue flags waving. He's passed the slower car, so those are withdrawn as the marshals see that happen. Down into Mulsanne corner. This used to be basically a square right, as rally drivers would have it. Now it's a feeder road for the roundabout, so you get that long curve into the slower part. Down there where the marshals are on the left-hand side, that's where the signalling pits used to be, because by the time a car got to the main pit straight and you hung out a pit board, it was too late. He'd have to do another lap. So you had signalling pits down there halfway around the lap, and they'd go pit or box or whatever you needed to tell him, because radios didn't get that far. And in fact, radios didn't get that far even to tell the signalling pits what to show him. You had to ring up on an old-fashioned wind-up field telephone, battery-powered thing, speak to your man at the signalling pits and get him, here's the lap time, here's the message you want to put on it.
Clearly we're talking pre-mobile phones in that respect as well. We're talking the 80s, early 80s,
yeah,
early
we are
mid-80s.
talking the 80s, exactly. So the height of the Group C era, which we see as kind of quite a technologically advanced racing era, we were using World War II field telephones to communicate to the far side of one racing track.
Smoke signals.
You know, good as. Yeah, no, I well remember. In fact, yeah, mid-80s, 86, 87. Trying to remember exactly what year the new pit lane opened, but it was sort of about that.
Later than that. New pit lane opened 1990, I think.
It was about that time that the signalling pits disappeared, because trees were cut down and the radio masts were put up that allowed communication. Leader is in the GTE Pro class. Regular stop again for Laurens Vanthoor. And does he stay in? Does the door open? The door does open, so he gets out and in gets Michael Christensen. At least that's the rotation they've used so far. Patrick Dempsey watching. Now, he's not battling those guys, but what he is doing is leading in the GTE AM class. So not a race winner as a driver here. He may well end up a race winner as an owner. And although he dedicated 2 years of his life away from being Dr. McDreamy to being a racing driver. He's had to go back and earn a living because basically being an actor is actually what he does. But he takes a lot of time and care and attention over his Dempsey Proton race team. And I'm sure he's absolutely thrilled to be leading Le Mans. However, like everybody else with 2.5 hours to go, he's thrilled but crossing everything and holding his breath. Out goes the Ford that so far has proved bulletproof. And as that pit stop started, we had word from Lou from the Ginetta team. Louise, the number 5 Ginetta, which is struggling on gamely, is back in the pit lane, right?
Yeah, unfortunately it is. Leo Russo brought it back in. There was a bit of confusion on the pit stop. Anyway, he tried to restart it, it wouldn't start. So Charlie Robertson's now sitting in the car as they work on it, but they think it would be out any moment now.
Okay, fantastic news. Want to make sure, if we can, that that car reaches the end. It is. Yeah. It is the last running car. Thank you, Lou. Last running car in the field. And 50% of the Ginettas are still going, which for a car that has not had a race before is good news. WeatherTech Ferrari off in the gravel and beckoning for some assistance. And this is the car that lies second in the AM class. The Keating Motorsports car, Ben Keating there. The American lineup in the car. And Ben, now that car had a major gravel trapping rallycross experience before. There is the driver change coming up for Porsche number 91. You're absolutely right, Louise. Now, I'm looking down from above. Can't see you there. Go on, run, Louise, run. No, run. Go on, get on with it. No, do not worry, do not worry. Now, look, getting out, look how bathed in sweat Fred Mako is as he gets out. His blue overalls, much darker blue, around the back, the shoulders and the small of the back, absolutely bathed in sweat. I can't tell you how much more than driving a car, driving these race cars is. No car you've ever driven will exert you as physically as these race cars. I don't care what road car you've ever experienced or been driven in. Racing cars are as different as a World War I biplane from a Spitfire. They may as well be called something other than car because they're so different. It's remarkable the physical stress that it puts the driver under. And the GT cars are no less stressful than the prototypes. Out of the pits comes the 68 Ford. There's Fred Mako. Well, they're in second place at the moment, but laughing happily with teammates. So Fred Makovici in the blue tribute Porsche, the R word. And that car in second place. He handed over to teammate Richard Leitz. And Ben Keating, there is a slow zone where he went off in the gravel. So we'll wait to see. In fact, there's a slow zone at 16. Is that where he went off? I guess it must be. It's the only slow zone in the field. Joey Hand took over this Ford in the battle for second place a few laps ago. Andy Prio has cycled back in front of Joey Hand to be the lead Ford, but the blue and white Porsche has cycled back up in front of all the Fords to become the second place car in GTE Pro in what is, and still is and has been for a very long time, a Porsche 1-2. Prio in third place, the gap 7 seconds. Toby Moody, who's arrived with a Frappuccino of some nomination.
Well, I felt pretty chronic about 10 minutes ago, and I went for lunch, and I thought, well, I can't eat lunch in 10 minutes. But
I don't know. I could have lunch and dessert in 10 minutes.
Yeah, but more importantly, I thought I don't want to. I'd like to go back and have a second lunch, but we've only got one lunch ticket, so I've opted to have a banana and a biscuit and a coffee to get me through the next hour and a half, and then I'll have lunch before the end of the race, because you will be taking the guys across the line, Martin.
Have a banana.
I have. There's the replay of Ben Keating going through. Just backing up what you're saying about these cars are fast, you know. there's almost nothing more annoying of, oh, well, I've got a quick road car. No, you haven't.
Well, no, actually,
And these cars are another level, as you say. I'm in agreement with you.
No, actually, but yes, you have got a very quick road car, but if you drove your road car as close to its limits as they drive these racing cars, rightly, they would take you out with snipers. Because if you drive a road, and I don't care how slow and old your road car is, if you drive it as close to the limit of having an accident as race cars are driven every single second of the Le Mans 24 hours, they would rightly take you off the road for life. And let's get down to the pit lane. Let's get down to the pit lane while we've got a chance. A very greeny Fred Macca we saw chatting with some of the other guys in the Porsche garage. Louise is lurking. She's probably got hidden behind some tall chaps. Fred Makovici is always a fun interview, particularly if Louise doesn't press him too much on changing line in front of Porsches. Dario Franchitti came up with an excellent tweet. You didn't hear it. Said, seems the steering must be broken on one of the Porsches. Let's hear from Louise with Fred Makovici.
We've got look, real one. Picture. Wow. What else do I say? Wow, that was an incredible stint.
Yeah, I mean, really good. We have an awesome car, to be honest. The first stint was a little bit tricky because with the pressure went up with the temperature, and that's why I had a drop, and I also did a mistake. That's why I wanted to come back, because with my mistake we lost around 5 to 10 seconds, and but after the car was really awesome. Nice fight. Apparently Seb was not happy, but for me it's okay.
Seb wasn't too happy about your driving.
Yeah, but I'm not happy about his, that's why, I mean, no problem about that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lou. Yeah, I was just saying to Toby, Dario Franchitti tweeted about how the steering on one of the Porsches appeared to be broken. He can't even hold it in a straight line.
Were we speaking to Sebastian Loeb then? It sounded just like him, didn't it? Just like him.
It does a little bit, but there was no Marie-Pierre, which is why we got the interview.
Correct. Fred Makovici, of course, you know, when I first commentated on Le Mans, he was in an Aston Martin, and he very uncharacteristically had a bit of a moment in a drizzly last sort of half hour or so, I seem to remember, back in 2013. Yeah. And talking about Aston Martin, that one continues to have problems.
Yeah, this is the one that had the oil pump changed. Duncan diagnosed the problem last time, but Lou's in the pit lane now. And the garage door has gone down on the 48i deck, which is a universally accepted language at Le Mans for abandon. So Paul Lafargue, Paul-Luc Chatin and Memo Rojas in the number 28 IDEC Sport car are pole sitter in the LMP2. Nick Manassian, the sporting director of IDEC Sport. And so Quick Nick and the boys are out with 2.5 hours left. 2.5 hours left to keep this sole Aston Martin in the game. The 97 car is hanging out the tail of the GTE Pro field. It is 14th. However, ahead of it are 2 Ford USA cars, so that makes it 12th, and 1 Corvette, which makes it 11th. And is there another? I don't think the 52 is a full season entry, so it might earn a point in GT. There's a Porsche in front of it in class as well, that's from the IMSA series, so it is in 10th place at the moment and earning a point, and so they must keep it going, not just to learn as much as they can about the car, but also for points for the championship.
Remember, it's 1.5 points for this race. It's 38 points for the victory, 27 for second, 23 for third. Normally, it's 25 for the victory, but it's, as I say, 38 for the victory here at Le Mans. Also, Sebring next year as a 1,000-mile race. That's also got different points as well. We'll worry about that when we get there.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's too far away, Martin.
Yeah.
By the way, the finish is too far away, but I have seen the fat lady. She's getting her vocal cords ready because the band have arrived.
Oh, right, okay. Well, we heard from Fred Makovici saying, I hear that Seb wasn't too happy with my weaving, but was okay for me. Yeah, well, it would be. However, Sebastian Bourdais is livid with Mako,
Yes.
not just for weaving down the straight, but especially on the run from Arnage to the Porsche curves, for just moving across 2 full lanes of the road and easing him onto the hard shoulder and the grass at speed, which I don't think is even remotely acceptable. However, the stewards took no further action, so clearly I'm in a class of 1 there. Well, me and McNish.
And Seb, because Seb also said he was moaning, he was having a right go about the balance of performance. He was having a go at the FIA. He named the FIA. In the interview that I heard, he was proper revving.
All right, well, that's because of the driving, the battle that he had with Fred Mako, which he didn't think was fair. The balance of performance, there was not a 1/10 of a second in pace between the Ford and the Porsche. Now, that's a balance of performance working well. Balance of performance doesn't give Seb Bourdais an advantage. That's not what it's there for. It's to make sure the cars are as even as clearly they were. And actually, if Fred Mako hadn't weaved, Bourdais would have got by him. And when he did get by him, Mako got by, and Bourdais got by again. That's what we want. We want cars that can race close. We don't want cars that clear off into the distance. Toyota ready with discs for the number 8 car, which has got a 1:42 advantage, or the number 7 car, which is 1:42 behind. Well, given that the number 7 car has just gone by the pits, let's assume it's for the number 8 car. Is this a frailty in the Toyota armour, or is this something that will be repeated immediately with the number 7 car in a lap's time?
I'm pointing at the screen because there was a tray of something that one of those mechanics had brought out. Was it just something just to have to hand, just in case, or we got a problem?
Tools for a job.
The way that the sort of big cheese was get out of the way, you know, was. This is the leader of this motor race, Fernando Alonso at the helm at the moment. As Martin says, 1:42 is his lead. He's coming out of the Porsche curves. He's going to be coming towards pit lane entry. There it is, bottom of your screen, and he's coming in.
He is coming in, and they're going to do a standard service operation, which almost inevitably means brakes. If it was anything more major, then that would jeopardise the chance of the number 8 car winning. If they're making a brake change with 2.5 hours to go on 8, they almost certainly will need to make a similar brake change on 7, and that will negate any potential advantage for the number 7 car.
No
so
driver
the fuel
change.
Goes in.
Yes, I'm sorry. It is a driver change. Nakajima getting in.
Okay, so they're doing tyres, but the tyres are going on before they do brakes, so they are not doing brakes. They're adjusting something in the cockpit. Oh, the engineer leads in to do up the belts for Kazuki Nakajima. Number 7 is on its way down to Indianapolis and Arnage, as you can see on the GPS tracker.
Still this guy doing a lot of work.
Yeah. Whoa. Now that's a penalty. Reversing in the pit lane is a penalty, but apparently nobody but the TV camera saw that. Starting the car on the jacks, that's a penalty.
And there was a mechanic the other side, just underneath the door, Martin, that was doing something else. Maybe he was clearing debris, who knows what. But Duncan, what did you see? What kind of vibe did you get?
I was directly opposite it. I wasn't in the media throng across there, Toby. I was on the pit wall, so I could have a clear view of the whole thing. The car was definitely 100% all 4 wheels turning when the jacks were still dig.
Now, it's not starting the internal combustion engine,
but there was a big panic.
You're spinning the wheels.
Yeah,
well,
shouting out to stop.
Some poor bloke is down there trying to dig something out of a side pod or reattach a side pod or something down on the bottom right-hand corner. That's pretty much where the exhaust pops out of the side panel of the car. Now Fernando Alonso was watched by the cameras reversing back into his pit stand. You can be pushed back. You may not drive the car in the wrong direction on the racetrack or in the pit lane. That should have been a penalty. Starting the car, wheels turning. We've seen a driver get a drive-through for spinning the wheels away from the pit stand. Spinning the wheels when the car is in the air. It may not be an internal combustion engine. It is a form of motorised power to the car. That's a penalty as well, potentially.
you can spin the wheels when you leave the box in IMSA, but you can't do it here.
No, you can't. Even in IMSA now, they've changed in the regulations. It's safety with the number of people that are actually in the pit lane itself. And this regulation's been positioned in Le Mans for many, many years because it's obviously one of the most focal points of the season, and there's more camera crews than anything else at this place.
Yeah, particularly around the number 8 car, given the presence of Fernando Alonso. Well, Duncan is right there on the pit wall, and Fernando is very voluble and looks relatively happy, but the team are making sure that the world feed of the television don't get a word with him. Oh. Well, there's a replay of a car not on the ground before it tried to drive away.
Was that just now?
That was just now in that pit stop. Well, and any other car, that would be a penalty.
Yeah, you can't spin the wheels rear or front.
Yeah. Any other car, that would be a guaranteed penalty. Toyota refusing interviews during the race. Well, I don't suppose we need to go and bother talking and trying to get a word with them after the race, so they can do whatever they like. I'm sure we'll be happily chatting to a jolly bunch of Rebellion drivers who finish on the podium, because they will be very pleased to talk.
The irony is, Fernando Alonso wants to do this race. He wanted to do this race. He didn't have to do this race. He didn't have to do all the 30-hour tests in the dark on a wet Wednesday at Aragon, and yet, yeah, it's a balance. There it is. There's the promotional bit. Toyota Hybrid. It's promoting that. Alan knows all about it. Alan knows what a team has to do to promote, you know, e-tron, diesel, e-tron, etc. And you know, there's being a mega Uber superstar, and there's also being, come on, we're in this game together.
Why are Toyota doing this?
That's my point. That's my point. To promote hybrid.
They're doing this for exposure. How do you get exposure? You put yourself on television, and that's not just by driving around in circles, because actually the car is not the element here. What shoes did Usain Bolt use to win every one of his 100-metre Olympic golds?
No idea.
I tell you what.
Yellow ones, green ones, I don't know.
Well, they're Puma, but everybody knows it was Usain Bolt. Nobody cares what racket Roger Federer uses other than the racket manufacturer. Nobody cares what shoes. Nobody cares, frankly, that it's a Toyota. They care about the people, because the people make the car. Expecting a pit stop for the number 7 car. We still don't know what they were doing with the number 8 car, and we probably won't, because it's a secret. Now again, somebody is inside doing the belts. Is there somebody down below him on the right-hand side? The guy doing the belts is fine, checking the brakes, checking the pads, that's all of that, that's fine. He's not touching the car, and he's a tyre and brake engineer. That's a safety issue as well. But it's the guy down underneath the fueling
and here, at the bottom as well. They're just checking the exit of the splitter. So, you know, that's a very high nose. It's nearly about 10 inches high. That's why the driver's feet are, you know, as if he's sitting in a bath with his feet on the taps. That's the kind of position these racing drivers are sitting in. So is the pickup that's behind that number 7 that's in the way, are they being super, hyper, mega sensitive? Don't blame them. So
if it wasn't causing an issue, they wouldn't be stopping in a pit stop and hauling all the stuff out. So are they starting to worry about temperature? There's Pascal Vasselon. Doesn't exactly look sanguine, does he? That's a bit of a concerned conversation rather than a not concerned conversation.
Even if it was going well, they're just going to be on edge, on edge, on edge for the remaining 2 hours and 17 minutes. On edge, on edge.
Yes. Well, actually, probably 3 or 4 minutes longer than that, because they may not take the flag right at 3 p.m. They might have yet another lap to do, and we all know what that has done.
My point entirely.
Yeah.
So, just to recap, Alan, you're going through the rule book, paragraph by paragraph. You will jump in when you get to the watch. At what point are you allowed to start forward motion of the vehicle? Is it on the jacks? No, we're not warming up a gearbox here.
No.
It's when you are on terra firma.
Yes.
But you will get to that in a moment. Jump in when you get there.
Possibility that, you know, depending if they switched it off and then went back onto the ground, they may have a... Yeah.
A grey, yeah. They stopped.
It's turned. It's at stewards' discretion.
It turned, stopped, and went back down again. It's a bit like being on a start line. You shunted forward a centimetre, but you were still stationary at the start of the race.
Yeah. However, you still jumped the start, and reversing in the pit lane. That is clearly also a could have, should have, would have been a penalty.
In any form of motorsport, unfortunately. There you go, the third position, guys. Gustavo Menezes, who is currently 11 laps back of the two Toyotas. The two Toyotas on the lead lap. They are split by 1 minute and 37 seconds. The view down at Tête Rouge for the number 3 car in third position, the Rebellion 13.
Yeah. And a couple of little incidents have swapped the balance of power between the 3 and the 1 car, but most recently it seems to be the 1 car that has picked up the last couple of issues, and that sort of has really cast the die a little. But again, and I tire of saying this myself, but we can't not reiterate it, especially because, you know, a global audience like ours, some have been asleep for half the race and some asleep for the other half. 2 years ago shows us that absolutely nothing can be taken for granted. The very final lap of the race denied Toyota a historic first win. And 5 minutes short after 24 hours is just the most painful thing ever. And so now everybody is hypersensitive to that. It's not over until after the checkered flag.
And the Nürburgring 24 hours was decided in the last 10 minutes last year as well. You know, a freak loss of a fuel cap or something or other. They stuttered, and it gave them the window to put the right tyres on the car.
And last year's GTA Pro battle was a side-by-side, wheel-banging, out-braking battle on the last lap for victory. It could not have been closer. Let's get down to the pit lane. Duncan, your mic is open. If you get Fernando Alonso, I will love you forever. We won't interrupt. We'll just ride with the Rebellion and wait for Fernando.
There's the lead Toyota. Number 8, Buemi, Nakajima, Alonso leading this motor race at the moment. There is the Rebellion number 3 in third position.
See the spoiler chattering, the splitter chattering on the front of the Clearwater Racing Ferrari. That's where it's had a little off-track excursion. It'll be sounding horrible. Feeling not quite so bad. Here we go. Let's get down to the pit lane. Duncan Vincent with Fernando Alonso.
First of all, Fernando Alonso, how has the 24 hours of Le Mans gone for you so far?
So far, good. Obviously, we were leading the race all the 24 hours with car 7 or with car 8, and now we are again first and second with 2 hours left. So definitely has been a good race for us so far, and yeah, trying to finish the job in the last 2 hours.
You did a fantastic nighttime session, and you seem to be, as you say, in the rhythm of the night. Did you enjoy the nighttime?
Yeah, I did enjoy. I love driving at night, and especially with the cold conditions. For whatever reason, I switch on the tires a little bit quicker with this car, and also I got lucky with the traffic. And yeah, I love the stint at night. And the only shame is that the 24-hour Le Mans is once a year. We should have this every 2 or 3 weeks.
Thank you, Fernando.
It's a nice thought, but I'm not sure the human body can take that. But I did say earlier this morning, I sensed when he got out of the car that he wasn't just saying the right things, and I think you heard it there in his voice. I think we've got him. I think he swallowed the bait, hook, line and sinker. I think we sucked him in with the thought of something, and he's found a whole different world. And he clearly was, when he was in the car in the night, was absolutely 100% on it and in really good form, and clearly has enjoyed it. And I don't know how long he spent in the car, but I guarantee he's got as much seat time out of it as he possibly could. He was offering to stay in longer than was expected during the night. Yeah, Duncan's been waiting for him for an interview. He reckons as long as Fernando. I reckon Fernando's easily had 8 hours in the car.
Well, if you don't get Le Mans, and as Fernando Alonso has given the opportunity to get Le Mans, he waved the flag here 2-3 years ago. He drove the 512 Ferrari, I forget, around here to before the race, the sort of early 70s Ferrari, like a 512 or something. Yeah. You know, what a way to do your first lap of Le Mans in a total fever car such as that. He was still at Ferrari, if my memory serves, at the time in Formula One, and you've been given this opportunity. If you still don't get it, then, well, there's something wrong with you. You know, Fernando's still got that. He gets it. He knows what's good and bad about motorsport. You know, it's the David Tremaine. He gets it in motorsport. Some people do, some people don't. So he certainly does. There is that number 36. That's the Signatech Alpine. Still inside a podium position. It's in second place at the moment. Andre Negrau at the helm, right up behind the all-Dutch Dallara, the jumbo car, Van Aert, Van der Garde and Jan Lammers.
Listen, Jan Lammers, 63, 30 years anniversary of him winning in 1988 when Jaguar returned to Le Mans after their successful history in the 1950s. And their sole ambition with Fritz Van Aert was to get this car to the finish, and right now they are 2 hours away from that, and they will be exhausted and be so thrilled to see the checkered flag if they can. Now, Alan has been notably silent recently because he has been going through with a fine-tooth comb the regulations and the rule books, which he, being a team manager and a driver, have got in front of him, and we learn
there's 105 pages. That's the first thing we learn. You know, at the end, it's trying to find the actual exact wording on it, but the reality is spinning wheels when the car is up in the air is not allowed. Yeah. It's a danger point. It's normally from the rear wheels, but obviously with the hybrid system on the Toyota, then the front wheels are also active with it. That's always the case. You can't activate the systems for front or rear wheel drive until the car is on the ground.
Yep. Pretty much.
So if you were a steward, how would you interpret that? If you had an FIA shirt on today?
If I had an FIA shirt on, the two things I would look at. One was, did they gain an advantage out of it? No, they didn't, because they switched it off and then went back to the ground. And the second thing is then the actual point of what was the situation around and about it. You have to look at that in the bigger picture as well. What about the penalty is at the steward's discretion anyway.
Yeah. What about the mechanic who took his glove off to reach stuff in from the duct and clearing out? Clearly no performance advantage, in that there was a penalty applied to that for a car that was less prestigious, shall we say.
Yeah, well.
So you need to have, you know, if you have penalties for small infractions, you need to have in penalties. Jenson Button is another one of our Formula One world champions in this year's Le Mans 24 Hours. He's with Duncan Vincent.
Yeah, we come from Fernando Alonso, we come up to SMP and we get the lovely Jenson Button. Jenson, as I've just said to you there off air, it's almost finished. You've almost done the Le Mans 24 Hours. How are the feelings just now?
Yeah, good. I mean, apart from our issues in the beginning, it's been pretty straightforward for us, so yeah, it's been a lot of fun. 2 long stints so far, 2 five stint runs, and back in the car for the finish. So it's been really enjoyable, and yeah, they're struggling to get me out of the car when it comes to the end of the 5th stint.
How did you find those long stints? Were they enjoyable? Were you in a good rhythm, in a good place?
Yeah, the tyres are working great as well. So the first stint actually isn't that great on the tyres. It's moving around a lot, but then they come to you. And it's just nice seeing, you know, I well, I didn't see sunrise because there was cloud cover, but when it got light, I was in the car and it just suddenly becomes light, and it's very strange, but a lovely experience.
And how excited are you to be able to actually take this car to the finish line?
Well, hopefully, yes. Hopefully we will, but it's nice to be in the car at the end, yeah. So, not the way we wanted this race to go, but I'm sure that's the same for a lot of people. But it's a lot of experience, and that's the main thing.
As we say in Scotland, we haste you back to Le Mans. We want you back.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you, there we go. JB, guys.
Yeah, always a good chat, isn't he, Jensen? And you know, their hearts must have sank when so early in the game they were struggling. Well, a 2-minute stop-and-go penalty applied to car number... Alan suddenly looked up car number 52 for overspeeding during a slow zone procedure. So no major dramas there for our race leaders. That is, however, the second best placed Ferrari. So that is Antonio Giovinazzi. Giovinazzi's still in the 52A, of course, a car. He's been in there since about Wednesday.
Harry Tinkle about to get into the car, warming up to prepare himself to get into the seat of the number 67. Oh. I feel like I'm at home, Martin. It's wonderful. And there's the 69. That's
Westie's car. That's Team USA, or one of the two Team USA cars. They're looking in underneath.
Class.
Sebastian Bourdais, by the way, replying to Dario Franchitti, who Marino, who I think probably retweeted Dario's story about, or suggestion that maybe there was a broken steering system in the Porsche. And I'll quote Sebastian Bourdais' tweet in its entirety. The only reason they are still running is because I am not alone in the deal and I couldn't compromise the team and my teammates' work. I.e., if this was a single-seater race and he'd be doing that and me, we would have had contact and he would have been off because he forced me off the track and I would have returned the favour. But it's not about me, it's about us, and that's the deal. 67, in comes Harry Tinkle.
No, Harry Tinkle's about to get into the car, because there is Harry Tinkle with the orange and blue crash helmet. Coolly walks over to see Andy Prio leap out. He takes his seat out the way. Tinkers gets in. How does he get that tall, lanky frame in? Well, he does. And here we go. It's a repeat of 12 months ago. Is he going to take that car to the line, and the drama that we saw with a lap to go last year?
Well, could be in the frame, couldn't they? They are currently in 4th place, having just dropped behind on the stop behind Joey Hand. The worry for all the Fords now is that one of them is in the garage. Out goes the number 1 Rebellion in 4th place. And it was 25 seconds behind the sister car when it stopped, but then, of course, it was coming slower into the pit lane, so that would have increased that margin. Fernando Alonso suggesting a Le Mans 24 hours every 2 or 3 weeks would be wise. I have to say, I think it would probably lose its special magic fairly quickly. Also, I'd be down 1 wife, 1 house and 1 family within about 3 races. You can't come away for a week every 2 or 3 weeks.
As I said, I'd like to keep you inside until the end with 2 hours to go, mainly because of the door, If this is a big deal, you let me know on the radio and I will have Andre ready to jump in the car if you can't do it. Tire looks really good, pace is really good. Remember, low risk approach.
Will that door be a problem for Neil Jarni? He is in 4th place at the moment. Andreas Seidel with the glasses on the left-hand side, chief engineer on behalf of the Porsche 919 project that won this race for the last 3 years outright. The 919 hybrid with a little 2-litre V4 twin-turbo engine, but with the lithium-ion batteries that powered it up to 900 horsepower. There he is on the left-hand side, Fred Makovici that we spoke to a moment ago. He is there, still in his overalls, getting, well, he won't go far away. He's 2 hours away from a potential podium position. Don't forget the sister car from the other side of the garage, the pink number 92, is still leading GTE Pro.
And Andreas Siedel's current job, or next job, will involve a lot more battery power because he's heading up Porsche's Season 6 Formula E programme. So he and Alan McNish will become direct rivals. Electrical problem in the 69 Ford, says Duncan in the pit lane. And as we said earlier, you can often see, you can follow the trail where water leaks out, you can follow the trail where oil or hydraulic fluid leak out. You have to lick your finger to follow the trail to find where electricity is leaking out, and I don't recommend that, because you're a very good conductor. Electrics and electronics are the hearts to the astonishing performance of these cars, but they're also the Achilles heel occasionally. So 69 in the garage, dropping back down the order, so it's 52. Which is the AF Corsa Ferrari. So it's still a Porsche 1-2. Fred Makovici had better avoid Sebastian Bourdais, I think. He's explaining there, isn't he, how it was all clear and cut and clean and above board, and, well, that's the way the stewards saw it as well. There's the second place Porsche. Richard Leeds is in it. Fred Mako looking to take it over again. I thought Leeds took over from Makovici, and therefore we might swap it around to driver number 3, Kevin, Jimmy Bruni. Well, actually, Mako isn't helmeted up already, is he? So we'll wait and see what happens when the car comes in.
Oh, does it sound good as it rattles down the hill. On board with the leader of this race, still Kazuki Nakajima, minute-and-a-half advantage. He's going down the middle section of the Mulsanne Straight. The sister car is just about to come out of the Porsche curves. It's just about to come into view towards the Ford chicane where we are at. So it's